Good morning. Let's see here. Tyre, morning, my friend. How you doing today? Man, oh man, what a messed up week. I did not even realize today was Tuesday until late last night, and I'm going, but wait a minute, I didn't stream on Monday. I didn't stream today. I didn't do my infusion today. I didn't realize yesterday was Monday. I managed to sleep through Monday. Oh, what a day. All right. You're going to hear moans and groans from me today. You're going to hear some oddball sounds. Let me get that out up front. The pain pills aren't working exactly. So I got some things I want to say, so I'm going to say them. So no guarantee how long the stream's going to be today. We know the DNC convention started last night. We also know that Joe Biden did not get to have his speech at his appointed time. Things ran late. I didn't stay up to watch Joe Biden's speech. I'll be honest, I did not watch. I watched 3 minutes of McMorrow's thing, and I shut it off. When you're opening with a liar, what's the use of going on? But one thing I didn't, well, there's three things I noticed about the convention and the preparation there too. The party of defund the police sure wanted a lot of police. The party of it's racist to require IDs to vote sure wanted to see a lot of IDs. And the party of we don't want walls sure had a lot of walls and fences put up. Now I did make a bet with myself. I posted it that I figured the first of those walls, those fences would take about 24 hours for them to start coming down. I was wrong. You're right about that, Tyre. But I was wrong. The first of the fences got knocked down yesterday afternoon. We'll take a look at that. I've got some pictures of that fence being knocked down and carried about. I had some video and I lost it. I thought I had put it back out there in Twitter yesterday. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's see if I can get back over here and share this real quick. And what the hey? You're carried away. If that isn't something else. There's another part of it getting ready to go. So yeah. That fence didn't last very long now, did it? It didn't even make it 24 hours. But what I want to do here, we're going to take a little trip back into the time machine here. And this is Governor Walz a few months ago. In fact, let's see, according to this was a year ago. If I got this right. No, this is, oh, no, well, the comments are only from 12 days ago. But anyway, Governor Walz is on MSNBC. And let's listen to this.
See what another question. I want to talk about what you just mentioned about misinformation, because oftentimes before, in previous political chapters, disinformation, telling people where to vote the wrong way, that was kind of, these were considered shenanigans, but it's becoming more ominous. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you will do to ensure that there are penalties for that?
Yeah, years ago, it was the little things, telling people to vote the day after the election. And
a conservative, a guy who made a post saying that, or something similar to that, was actually jailed when he was made that post. He was actually sent to prison. Meanwhile, a liberal who made a very similar post wasn't even charged for the same election. So this, we already know this is a one-way street.
And, we kind of brush them off. Now we know it's intimidation at the ballot box. Mm-hmm. It's undermining the idea that mail-in ballots aren't legal. I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
All right. Did you hear what the man just said? Let me back this up.
Kind of brush them off. Now we know it's intimidation at the ballot box. Mm-hmm. It's undermining the idea that mail-in ballots aren't legal. I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
There is no. I just can't get over him saying this.
Undermining the idea that mail-in ballots aren't legal. I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech. And
there is no guarantee of speech. There's no freedom of speech on misinformation. First of all, who in the hell defines what misinformation is? Do I get to define what I believe is misinformation? Does Tyre, do you get to define what is misinformation? Does ABC, NBC, or CBS get to define what is misinformation? Do we have to rely on Snopes and PolitiFacts to define, do we have to rely on ABC, on CBS, or the New York Times, or the Washington Times, or the Post? Are these the only people who are allowed to define what is misinformation? Or can't you define for yourself what is misinformation? But remember, he is saying that there's no room for misinformation in their, and I'm going to use air quotes here, democracy. As if, that in itself is not misinformation. We are not a democracy. We are a representative, constitutional republic. But okay, I'm sure y'all tired of hearing me say that. Well, but even if you are, too bad.
Especially around our democracy. Tell the truth where the voting places are, who can vote, who's able to be there. And
tell the truth. Yeah, okay, let's stick to, why don't you remind your Democratic partners? Why don't tell the truth? How about you telling the truth about your service in the military? You're 24 years in the National Guard. Why didn't you tell the truth about that? To have you out there telling people that they need to be telling the truth when you have built your entire military, your entire political career around lying about your military career. And from what I've read about your actual military career, you had no reason to lie. But here you are telling other people they have to be truthful when you've built the second half of your life on a lie.
Watching some states continue to weaken the protections around the ballot, I think, is what inspiring us to.
Yeah, watch it. Like you did, like you weakened it, where illegals can actually vote in elections, in federal elections, because you just blanketed out handing everybody a driver's license. That's weakening. The protections around voting. By not requiring people to show ID to vote, that's weakening the voting instead of strengthening it.
To lean into this again, all we're asking is to make it as easy and simple as possible to exercise their right to vote, and
to make it as easy and simple as possible. The right to vote should be restricted. You should have to show that you have the right to vote. Because we've got we've got 40 million illegals in this country. That's 40 million people who do not have the right to vote. And that's not including those that are here legally, but are not U.S. citizens who do not have the right to vote. And then in some states, people convicted of felonies don't have the right to vote. So we need to have a process to keep those people out of the voting lines so they do not cast ballots. And remember, when you walk into that ballot booth, you're casting a ballot, not a vote. It does not become a vote until that ballot is counted. And hopefully that ballot is counted as a vote in the direction that you, as the person who filled out that ballot, wanted it counted. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, Tyre.
Participate in our democracy. And I'm in 100% agreement with you. That makes it so that more people are there. You get more opinions brought in. And I think it tempers that extremes that we get, because again, I can't imagine someone going and standing in line for 8 hours to try and vote and then being told that, maybe the votes didn't count or maybe something's wrong. Or you have these candidates who lose and are on these ridiculous court cases that they keep bringing up and losing on. Here in Minnesota, we're going to bring faith back into that system. It's already been here. We're very proud that we're.
All right, that's enough of this. He's already talked about I've already gone over the part way back here at the beginning of this little rant of his.
It's undermining the idea that mail-in ballots aren't legal. I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Let's keep that in mind what he said. There's no guarantee to misinformation. That's the main point I wanted drawn out of this interview that he made up. He said there is no guarantee on misinformation. This is last night at the DNC convention. This is last night. This is Senator Mallory McMorrow.
I'm Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow, and this is Project 2025.
They're going to attempt, they're not going to, she is, they have been attempting, doing their damnedest to tie Project 2025 to Trump. When Trump, on numerous times over this past year, has said he has nothing to do with it, he doesn't agree with it. It's not his agenda. But let's listen to this lying witch.
Now, over the next 4 nights, you are going to hear a lot about what is in this 900-page document. Why? Because this is the Republican blueprint for a second Trump term.
Again, she is lying. Project 2025 was drawn up by the Heritage Foundation. Yes, it's a very conservative group. But it does not speak for the Republican Party. It does not speak for the Democrats or for Trump. It no more speaks for Trump or the Republican Party than it speaks for the Democratic Party, or it speaks for me, or it speaks for you. It speaks for the Heritage Foundation and what they and their supporters, but more so what they support. It was drawn up by the people at Heritage, not by Trump, not by the Republican Party. Are there going to be some similarities on a few key points? Of course there's going to be. Of course there's going to be a few points that are going to be similar. But there's going to be a lot of points where there's a huge difference. Just like there's things that Trump says that I disagree with. Some I disagree with mildly, some I disagree with strongly. So Trump's agenda is not my agenda. What Trump wants to do and see gets accomplished is not necessarily things that I want to see done, which are not necessarily things that you want to see done. We all have our own individual things that we would like to see done under a Trump administration. But none of us speak for Trump. Only Trump speaks for Trump. Only the Republican Party, the RNC, speaks for the RNC. And the Heritage Foundation is not one of those organizations that does. Okay? So, again, talk about misinformation. Talk about misinformation. This woman is starting off, the DNC started off. And if Waltz had his way, she should be arrested and jailed for spreading misinformation. But this is misinformation that they like, that he likes, and that he approves of. Because it's a lie, it's misinformation about the Trump agenda, it's misinformation about the Republican agenda. And ABC, NBC, and CBS are all sucking it up. And where did it go? All right.
That's right. They went ahead and wrote down all the extreme things that Donald Trump wants to do in the next 4 years. And then they just tweeted it out, putting it out on the.
Once again, did you hear that lie? Did you hear that lie, that misinformation that she just spread out? Back this up.
Next 4 years. And then they just tweeted that Donald Trump wants. They went ahead and wrote down all the extreme things that Donald Trump wants to do.
Donald Trump has disavowed this multiple times. But just like during his presidency, when every day he was being asked, do you disavow the racists? Do you disavow skinheads? I did yesterday. Well, what about today? You haven't disavowed them today. So you evidently, if you don't disavow them today, you support them today. Remember that? And I believe that was a Fox News reporter that said, well, what about today? These people, if you don't disavow something every day, they're going to tie you with it one way or another. They're going to keep saying that you agree with it, even though you disavowed it, even though you said that wasn't yours. They're going to try and tag you with it. And with the assistance of the major media, you're going to get it. You're going to get tarnished with it.
In the next 4 years. And then they just tweeted it out, putting it out on the internet for everybody to read. So we read it. And whatever you think it might be, it is so much worse. Tonight, I want to tell you about just one aspect of Project 2025. It's planned to turn Donald Trump into a dictator.
Now, earlier I said that with the assistance of the major media, they're going to make this the Republican, they're going to tie this to the Republican Party. This is the AP, the Associated Press. This is what they tweeted yesterday, 12 hours ago. Michigan Senator Mallory McMorrow brought out a printed copy of Project 2025, which is the Republican blueprint for a second Trump term in the White House. She proceeded to slam it on the counter and read from him, not it, him. So evidently that book has got a pronoun preference, and it prefers to be called a him instead of an it. Yeah, thank you, Tyler. That's exactly. So let's go back to this woman here. I mean, right there, I've showed you where the AP is tying this to Trump and the Republican Party, even though it has nothing to do with either one. Oh, and by the way, Trump did say, he goes, yeah, I'm going to be a dictator on day one. And day one only. Drill, baby, drill. And start building the wall again.
Okay, right here on page 535, it says, quote, reissue Trump's Schedule F executive order to permit discharge of non-performing employees.
Wow, what's wrong with that? You got people who on the government payroll that aren't doing the job, fire them. Again, I'm not saying this is Trump's agenda, but I don't find nothing wrong with that. Firing those who are on the payroll but not doing the job. Any good employer would do that.
Now, that doesn't sound that scary, right? But here's what it actually means in plain English. If Donald Trump gets back into the White House, he's going to fire civil servants like intelligence officers, engineers, and even federal prosecutors if he decides that they don't serve his personal agenda.
Okay, federal prosecutors work at the, they've got their jobs. Remember this. They got their jobs at the will of the president. It's always been that way. It has always been that way, but whatever.
They're talking about replacing the entire federal government with an army of loyalists who answer only to Donald Trump.
That's a lie, but all right. Again, remember, this is not Trump's agenda. So whether you agree with parts of it or not, that's you agreeing with it. But they're claiming this is Trump's agenda.
I know. All right, then. Okay. Page 873. It says, quote, conservatives have long believed in either ending law enforcement activities of independent agencies or ending their independent status. Again, that sounds pretty boring. But what it means is that under Project 2025, Donald Trump would be able to weaponize the Department of Justice to go after his political opponents.
I wonder why they're scared of that. I wonder why they make that sound so scary. I wonder if it has anything to do with the DOJ being weaponized against Donald Trump. Again, members of the DOJ resigning in quotations, their positions and going to work for Alvin Bragg or going to work for Fani Willis. Or Fani Willis being in communication with the DOJ on a regular basis. Or Alvin Bragg being in communication with the DOJ on a regular basis. Maybe they're afraid. Remember, Democrats, they think things are great when it helps them out. And they make these changes to the laws or to the rules or to the policies. Because they always assume, politicians always assume that they'll always be in power. But as soon as it looks like they're going to lose power, and then the things that they did, they're going to start crying about the other side's going to possibly do it.
He could even turn the FBI into his own personal police force.
And go and raid the home of a former president at gunpoint with shoot to kill orders? No president would ever have his FBI do that. Now, would they?
That is not how it works in America.
Yes, it did.
That's how it works in dictatorships. And
Yes,
that's
it
exactly what
did.
Donald Trump and his MAGA minions have in mind. An expansion of presidential powers like no president.
Expansion of presidential powers. You mean these presidential powers that's been turned over to the president through the laziness of the legislative bodies? Congress creating these alphabet agencies that go to work under the executive branch. And then Congress sits there and says, well, we have oversight of them, but never does anything about it. Oh, yeah, they hold some great and fancy hearings, but nobody ever gets punished for what they actually did.
Has ever had or should ever have. Now, by the way,
You mean like Joe Biden threatening to put more people on the Supreme Court? I believe it was FDR. Because he doesn't like the rulings coming out of the current court.
if you're asking if any of this is even legal, well, remember, thanks to Donald Trump's hand-picked Supreme Court, he's now completely immune from prosecution.
As has been every other president for anything that he did under his official acts. It's been long held that anything he did as an official, he's been. And if you believe, or if the Congress believes that the president did something wrong, they can impeach him and remove him from office.
Even if he breaks the law. But
once again, she's lying. She's lying about the Supreme Court ruling. So this is more acts of misinformation that Waltz, Governor Waltz, Vice President wannabe Waltz, said should be illegal. He just said that less than 2 weeks ago, that should be illegal, what this woman is doing right now. So evidently the DNC has no problem doing what their standard bearers says should be illegal.
But that's not who we are, because we believe in a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Not the government of Donald Trump, by Donald Trump, and for Donald Trump. We believe in the separation of powers and the rule of law.
Really? So what about this $27 million that Joe and Hunter Biden have gotten illegally. Supposedly have gotten illegally over the past 8 years. What about Joe Biden having classified information from his vice presidency? Not his presidency, his vice presidency, stored in the garage next to his Corvette. That's illegal. Or the classified information that he had from his time as a senator. Again, that's illegal. Remember, that stuff's all illegal. So don't tell me that you believe in the law when so many of your people break the law on a daily basis.
We believe in a system built up to serve everyone, not breaking a system to serve one petty, selfish man. The truth is, there's only one way to stop him, and to stop Project 2025. How do we do it? We elect Kamala Harris this November.
Did you see that look, that little smirk on her face? Let's see if I can pause it on that smirk. Right there. Look at that. Look at that look on her face. That is the most disgusting. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I find redheads attractive. I've got a soft spot for redheads. But this woman, that look right there exposes the ugliness of her soul. That look on her face right there exposes the ugliness in her soul. It really and truly does. Yeah, Tyler, you know, that one ring doesn't stay in one pair of hands forever. You're exactly right.
We'll be back tomorrow night to tell you what Project 2025 means for your pocketbook.
Well, I'll be honest, whatever it means for my pocketbook's got to be better than the last 3.5 years, what it's meant for my pocketbook. Can't go to the grocery store. I mean, if I go to the grocery store now and I don't spend $50, I'm happy. I'm ecstatic. If I can get in and out of the grocery store for less than $50. That means I went in and bought just one or two things for a specific meal. I didn't go in there buying for 2 or 3 meals. That's why the wife and I now, we buy more and more at Sam's, even though it's just the two of us, we buy more at Sam's Club now than we did when my son was growing up with us. I mean, we buy 5 to 10 pounds, you know, buy either 5 or 10 pounds of hamburger at a time. Buy whole chickens and bring them home, and I cut them up. You know, buy the biggest bulk we can. Our guest shower, our spare shower, it's full of paper towels and toilet paper. Because we bulk buy. Part of that's because we remember the paper towel and toilet paper shortage too. So the wife wants to keep at least 2 months worth of toilet paper in the house. She is not going to go through a toilet paper shortage again. So let's take a look at a few things, okay? Let's see. Let's look at this article here from July 11th. Why is Trump disavowing Project 2025? So they've known since at least July 11th that Trump had I've got nothing to do with it. Now, if you want to know what Trump is actually doing, what his actual platform is, and I will post a link to it. It's right from his website. Seal the border and stop migrant invasion. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. And he's going to have quite a ways, he's going to have to do a lot of it, because there was a huge one about 100 years ago. But that is something he could definitely do. He can definitely seal the border. And the only qualm I have with that is that I'll say borders. Because you could say, well, I've sealed the southern border along California and Mexico, or California and Texas, but it doesn't do anything about the coast or the northern border. So I want to see that say borders. End inflation and make America affordable again. Can the president end inflation and make it affordable? And can the president make inflation? End inflation. What he can do through his policies is take his advanced policies that should end inflation. But unfortunately, we've got these independent banking groups out there that are not responsible to the federal government in any way, shape, and or form. Once these people are appointed to the Fed and such, that's the end of it. Then you got that mass abortion of a group put out there by Pocahontas, the Consumer Protection Group, that again, they're absolutely independent of the federal government. I do not like have these agencies that have power and spend tax dollars that are independent of the federal government. The federal government ought to have oversight and authority. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Drill, baby, drill. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Remember Obama? He said, what is Trump going to do? Wave his magic wand and make all these companies come back? And what did Trump do? He waved his magic wand, made regulations disappear or change, and manufacturing came back. Can he do it again? If he's got the right people in the right positions, hell yes, he can do it again. Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. We've talked about this before. We can't do the tax cuts until we end a lot of this federal spending. Stop funding the wars in the Ukraine. Stop sending money for illegals. $451 spent on illegals. $451 billion have been spent on illegals. Okay? That money never should have been spent. But we're not going to get tax cuts until we get spending under control. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and fundamental freedoms, including the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. Remember, Walt is saying that he doesn't believe in the freedom of speech if he disagrees with it. If he thinks you're spreading misinformation, which would be anything he disagrees with, he thinks you should be able to be prosecuted for it. Even a joke post, which has already had people prosecuted. And the weaponization of the government against the American people. Again, until you reduce the number of laws that can be used against the American people, the government will always be weaponized against the American people. Okay? Stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. Migrant crime epidemic. Seal the borders, deportation. Demolish the foreign drug cartels. You can't do that in foreign countries. I'm sorry, as much as I would love to see it. That one book by, crap, now I can't remember the authors. That man, I hate my memory sometimes. The guy that wrote The Hunt for Red October. He wrote another book about a military operation to go after drug cartels. U.S. military just going into these foreign countries to demolish drug cartel leaders. That's not going to happen. Not legally. That's invasion. We don't do, and we should not be doing that. However, if we can get the foreign countries get their permission, and we work with their military and their police forces to crush, that's a different story. Crush gang violence. We got a lot of homegrown gang violence. We've had it now for decades. Lock up violent offenders. Get rid of the Soros district attorneys. Get some DAs in there willing to actually prosecute these criminals and not. I was watching a court hearing last night. A lady with a pregnant woman with drugs and alcohol in her system involved in a car accident that killed a man. Killed a man. And the DA is standing there saying they want her to have 12 weeks and 3 years probation. And the judge looked at her and laughed. said, no, there was a dead body involved. This woman was found with drugs, including fentanyl in her car. She had drugs in her system, had alcohol in her system. There's a dead man out there. And you want me to sentence her to 12 weeks? Forget it. That's not going to happen. Rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. Not until you get rid of Mayor Bowser and the Democrats. That's not going to happen. The people of the cities have got to step up and elect responsible people. We should not depend on our president. We should not depend on the federal government to step in to make our cities, the cities that we live in, safe. That should be up to the individuals who live in that city as to who they elect to sit in their offices. That's not the federal government's job. So obviously, I strongly disagree with him on this. That's not the federal government's job to step in and take over Philadelphia, take over Baltimore, take over San Francisco to make them safe and beautiful again. Washington, D.C. is a different story. Washington, D.C., per the Constitution, is under the direct control of the federal government. Yes, they have home rule, but they have it with the permission of the Congress. And the Congress can step in any time and say, no, you can't do this. Like they just did here not too long ago with giving illegals the right to vote in their local elections. Congress stepped in and said, hell no, that ain't going to happen. Keep the U.S. dollar as a world currency. Okay. I don't know how he's going to do it, but it needs to happen. All right. Fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare. No cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. I'd also like to, have the VA in there. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. That's right, exactly. We are spending tons of money on these electric vehicles that just aren't working. Federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. This is what happens when you accept federal dollars. We most commonly see it with our highways. Oh, you want highway funds? Then make your legal drinking age 21. You want federal highway funds? Lower your DUI to 0.08. You want federal highway funds? Make your speed limit to 55. You want federal highway funds? Do this. You want federal highway funds? Do that. And a lot of times the states just go along with it. Every now and again, you'll see a state like Nevada has, I believe as Nevada has in the past, tell them to go kiss grits, and they're going to keep their highways keep whatever doing they're doing. But that doesn't happen that often. So for people that are going to complain about this, just remind them how many other times the federal government has stepped in and said, if you want these federal dollars, you have to do this. Or if you do this, we're going to keep back your federal dollars. Keep men out of women's sports. Hallelujah and amen. Deport pro-Hamas radicals, make our college campuses safe and patriotic. All right. Deport pro-Hamas radicals. If anybody's in this country on a student visa or on any kind of a visa, and they start protesting against this country in any way, shape, and form, cancel the visas and send them home. No questions asked. No hearings, no trial. We have you on video. We have you out there protesting against this country. Go home. You don't like it here? Go home. Make our colleges, campuses safe. Define safe in this. Define what you mean by safe. Do you mean safe from being from just crime in general? Do you mean safe from public interference? Do you mean that? You need to define what you mean by safe here. And patriotic. The federal is just as we don't want the federal government stepping in, telling the colleges that they've got to push critical race theory and radical gender ideology on our students. It's not up to the federal government, or shouldn't be, to what is patriotic. Define. You get 30 of us together in a room, you're probably going to come up with at least 15 different definitions of patriotic. Hey, Joshua, good morning. Tom Clancy, yeah, you're right there. Thank you, Tyre. No, it was Tom Clancy. It was one of the books with the character that Harrison Ford played in Patriot Games. But anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's the latter half of this. All right, is going to, before I can say I support this, it requires a lot more fleshing out. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. Yeah, secure our elections. Voter ID, 100%. Paper ballots, 100%. Proof of citizenship to get to be eligible to register to vote, no problem. Same day voting, I don't have a problem with early voting. Reasonable amount of time. These 60-day, 90-day early voting thing, no, it shouldn't be any more than 14 days. It actually shouldn't be more than 7 days. And, I usually do same day voting. And I usually try to get out very early in the morning to vote. But I can remember standing in line for 6, 7 hours to vote on election day and getting home, turning on the television. And I just got done casting my ballot. I turn around and I drive 2 miles to my house. My wife had my supper waiting for me on a plate. I grabbed it, went and sat down, turned on the television, and they were calling the state I lived in. They called Florida for Clinton. And I literally had just cast my ballots not 15 minutes earlier. Unite our country by bringing to new record levels of success. That I just think that's a pipe dream. We are always going to have the communist influence in our country now, because we got too many communists, too many people who have been taught by the communists in our elementary schools, junior high, high schools, and colleges. We've got too many people that have been indoctrinated into that. It's going to take at least 60 years to get that out of our systems. We'll have communists in our midst forever. And when I mean forever, I mean at least the next 100 years. If the country survives that long, if the planet survives that long. Yeah, we can unite our country economically, but we're never going to be able to unite our country politically. And honestly, I don't know if I want to. We should always be having new ideas brought into it. We should always have, what ifs brought in. But we should also have that in there. That's been tried by 50 other countries and it's never worked. Shut up. Don't ever bring it up again. Communism and socialism has never worked where it's been tried. So don't think you're going to make it work by you trying it, and that you're some sort of Ubermensch, and that you are going to do a better job of it than anybody else has ever done. That's not going to happen. Okay, but anyway, that is Trump's Agenda 47. That is Trump's platform, not that Project 2025 that the Democrats are trying to push off. Now they claim that Project 2025 was the Republican agenda. Here is the Republican agenda. 2024 Republican platform, Make America Great Again. And I will post the link to that. All right, and if that link is too big, then you can Google it and find it. But this here's a PDF. All right. Get past the preamble here. To make clear our commitment, we offer to the American people the 2024 GOP platform to make America great again. It is a forward-looking agenda that begins with the following 20 promises that we will accomplish very quickly when we win the White House and Republican majorities in the House and Senate. Now, it looks like a lot of this is coming straight from Trump's Agenda 47, which makes sense. The Republican Party, if they want to win, remember, Newt Gingrich ended the 40 some odd years of Democrat control of the House by his contract with America. 10 things that they said they'd have done in 100 days. 10 things. And it's either 8 or 9 of them actually got through the House. 1, seal the border. 2, deportation. 3, end inflation. 4, dominant energy producer. 5, stop outsourcing. Tax cuts. Defend our Constitution. Prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country. All made in America. Remember, the Chinese has already floated at least 3 balloons that I know of over U.S. territories. And not a damn thing was done to any of them. And in my mind, that was an act of war. And Joe Biden did nothing. Nine, and the weaponization of the government against the people. 10, stop the migrant crime epidemic. So like I said, most of this is straight from Trump's Project 47. Oh, by Project 47, why has it got that title? Because whoever's elected the next president is going to be the 47th president. Unless, of course, Joe Biden steps down for some stupid ass reason and Kamala Harris gets sworn in to finish out Biden's term, and then she'll be both the 47th and 48th presidents. If she's elected, if she wins the election and Biden steps down early, then, and I see this happening. I can see this happening. If either way, I can see Joe stepping down, so Kamala can get sworn in as president of the United States, even if it's only for a couple of months, so she can be the 47th president of the United States and be the first Black female president, and a Black female Southeast Asian Black president. Okay. So, yeah. Rebuild our cities, strengthen our military, keep the U.S. dollars as the world. Okay. Fight, cancel electric vehicle, cut funding for schools, keep men out with sports, deport, secure our elections, and unite by bringing in new records level support. So, yeah, a lot of that, I mean, most of that is straight out of Project 47. Now, they do have, when you go to this actual document, they've got a little bit more information, as you can see, about what they plan on doing. They fleshed out their talking points a little bit. But there still needs to be more fleshing out. And I just saw this here. Strict vetting. Republicans will use existing federal law to keep foreign Christian-hating communists, Marxists, and socialists out of America. whether or not somebody hates Christianity or Christians, I don't care. We have freedom of religion in this country. So that part should have been struck from this statement. Foreign communists, Marxists, and socialists out of America, that would have been great. But somebody had to throw in Christian hating and got that through. So I don't know who did it, don't care who did it. So I do recommend people go to that, read it, and see what's there. Now, of course, they did have the protest of the DNC. Hey, Digi, how's it going? Tyre, okay, with your statement there, that you don't mind division, but you want us at least standing on common ground if we want what we believe is best for America, and for both sides to admit the other side has good ideas. I am nearly at the point that I don't believe the left has any good ideas, because so many of their good ideas are coming straight out of the Communist Manifesto. And I don't think any of those ideas are good ideas. I really and truly don't. I can't trust the left, the Democratic Party, to come up with a good idea that at its heart is not meant to further the communist ideology in our country. It may sound pretty, but I do believe that if you dig down deep into it, you're going to find it straight out of the Communist Manifesto. It's straight out of some socialist agenda somewhere. And for that alone, I've got to disagree with it. Hey, Josh. Well, I hope you have a good one, my friend. I know you're already gone, but that's beside the point. Now, what would a Democratic convention be without the protesters? And here you have these are the people, the Free Palestine group. I'm not certain what this first word here is, but the LGBTQ people want to free Palestine. And you want to stay as far away from Palestine as you are if you're LGBTQ, because you've only got two choices if you live in Palestine and you're a gay man or woman. Well, three choices. Get the hell out. Pretend not to be gay. Or go to prison or be killed. That's it. Those are your choices. So that's actually four. Get the hell out, pretend to be straight, go to prison, or be killed. So y'all don't know what you're actually cheering for there. And for a group that really wants to defund the police, look at all the police here protecting you. And of course, there's a nice wide shot of the protesters coming down. Legal abortion once and for all. Resistance is justified when people are occupied. Unite and fight for LGBTQ liberation. Globalized intifada, fight the U.S. war machine. Planned Parenthood took in a RV, ostensibly to give away free abortions and vasectomies. But unfortunately, you couldn't just walk in there and get an abortion or a vasectomy because, well, they had already scheduled all of them. All their blocks were already scheduled. They were scheduled before they even showed up. So while they may be providing a free service, it wasn't like that was providing a free service for people who were there protesting or whatever. These are people that are already scheduled to be there. People had already planned on being there. When Trump goes to a diner, it seems like he gets a lot of big kicks. So old Kamala, she had to go do this old diner trick. But to make certain, she had people there that wanted her to be there. The diner they picked closed down and kicked everybody out. Then they bust in their own crowd to sit there at that diner and pretend to be patrons of that diner and friendly to Kamala. Is that misinformation? Would Tim Walz want her prosecuted for spreading misinformation? For making it appear that she just walked into a diner and all those people were already supporting her there in Pittsburgh and there was nobody in there that didn't support her? What do you think? To me, that sounds like misinformation. And old Timmy Walz is saying that there's no guarantee of freedom for spreading misinformation. See, it sure seems that he's spreading his own misinformation there. Because I don't hear him out here bad-mouthing Kamala for spreading it. I didn't hear him talking about McMorrow spreading misinformation last night at the convention. So he's just awful one-sided about that. Well, it's not going to be. I'm not going to be streaming much longer. I've got to go take another pain pill here shortly. But and by the way, good morning, Ramen. So yeah, this and did you find that say good morning earlier? Good morning. I'm glad to see you show up here. So, Tim Waltz here, he wants to sit there and say that it's wrong. Come on. Come back here to 4 minutes. Here we go. Remember this from the top of the show.
Box. It's undermining the idea that mail-in ballots aren't legal. I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
There's no guarantee of freedom of speech for misinformation. That's what he said 12 days ago. But last night's convention, they sure spread an awful lot of it. They sure did spread a lot. Now, there's been some conservative stuff. Some conservatives I've seen spreading some misinformation last night and this morning about the DNC convention hall being empty when speakers were starting. Well, it was when the opening acts were getting up there and talking. And yeah, there were a lot of empty seats for that. Okay. But by the time I got around to McMorrow and Hillary and finally to Joe, and I have no clue what time it was when Joe finally got up there to speak because I was in bed asleep. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things that were not exactly true. But they're going to get a media pass because, like I showed, even the AP, was spreading the misinformation with their tweet proclaiming that Project 2025 is the Republican blueprint for a second Trump term in the White House. But then they also said that project had its own personal pronouns and wanted to be called him. So, anyway. All right, ladies and gents. Yeah, I know it's only been an hour and 25 minutes, but I've got to call this here. Okay. Everybody, please have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. I'll be back on Thursday. So hopefully the stream will be at least another half hour in length on Thursday. Try to stay out of trouble. As always, be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. Later, all.